Just so you know.
We're just over.
He's gonna.
We're in the road just south of over.
Oh, okay. Right, then I'm going then.
Yeah.
You can go to dinner? Yes, we're there. Yes. I said,
there's a message. I texted the pictures. New just really nice.
you know, honestly, other women, girls go babysitting, you never get home.
I'm not in bourbon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, no. I'm carrying out.
That's a good one.
You were, you just got a microphone for you. I thought you were, well, were you last? Is it alphabetical? Really? Oh, keep it fair that way? That makes sense.
Just to, I can open it.
But you're just faking yourself out.
Yeah. But that's what you get on president election.
And I just got a consent back on it too, just on that report. But no, yeah. Once elections we certify the downloading process.
The district pays our 40 bucks.
I thought that's what I'm gonna be school board member. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Linden Board of Education. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence cell phones. If you do intend to make a public comment, please fill out a card and turn it into Mrs. Callie. And remove any hats as we rise for pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
And I apologize in advance. I'm fighting a little bit of a tickle in my throat, so I'll try to speak as clearly as possible, but just kind of that time of year. At this time, I have the roll call. Mrs. Keller?
Haney. Hanson.
Present.
Maker.
Present.
Montague.
Present.
Murphy.
Present.
Reinerson.
Present.
And Lund.
And just for the record, Mrs. Luck had a work engagement that has her out of state right now, so she's not able to attend tonight's meeting. At this time, I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted. We'll move on to our reports. I think again, our student rep is at volleyball, if I'm not mistaken, as we speak. So she is not able to be here tonight. We'll move on to our superintendent report. Russ?
Thank you and welcome everybody this evening. I do have a couple things to report out on. At our last meeting, we had some public comments from Mrs. Baggett. She commented on the different format that was used for our fall parent-teacher conferences. Please note that parent-teacher conferences are part of the calendar and the LEA contract. In working with LEA leadership, we wanted to think outside of the box to offer more flexible options to increase parent engagement. Overall, we did see an increase in parent engagement. We realize our system was not and is not perfect, and we are making attempts to find the most effective way to engage as many of our families as possible. Board members, 3-district board meeting. We do have a 3-district board meeting scheduled for November 13th at Linden High School with a start time of 5:30 p.m. Agenda topics include an update on the special ed consortium, transportation update, and a student board rep update. Remember, we can have no more than three board members attend to represent Linden. If you are interested, please RSVP to Ms. Callard. Congratulations to Elizabeth Molnar. Ms. Molnar, a Linden Middle School teacher, has been recognized by the Fenton Linden Regional Chamber of Commerce as Linden's Educator of the Year. In partnership with Barton Mallow, a $1,000 donation will be made to the Linden Middle School Art Club on behalf of Ms. Molnar. Congratulations to our newest members of the Linden Community School Board of Education, Tabitha Ramberg and Katie Odell. Once the election has been certified, we will start the onboarding process in preparation for them to take their seats at the January 8, 2025 board meeting. Then I'd like MTSS recognition. Congratulations to the ongoing efforts to implement multi-tiered system of support. Specifically, our district, Linden Community Schools, has been recognized for MTSS implementation in the following areas. For MTSS data utilization, our district also earned the MTSS Data Utilization Award for collecting and using district capacity assessment during the 23-24 school year. In addition, the following schools in our district have been recognized and earned the MTSS Data Utilization Award for collecting and using MTSS Fidelity data. Central Elementary, Hyatt Elementary, Linden Elementary, Linden High School, and Linden Middle School. As far as being recognized for MTSS implementation and impact, the schools that were recognized in our district: Central Elementary, Hyatt Elementary, Linden Elementary, Linden High School, and Linden Middle School. Thank you to Ms. Thomas, members of our MTSS team, and all Linden Community School staff members. And that's all.
Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it very much. Any reports from board members this evening? Mr. Reynolds?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out and voting in the community, and also congratulate what Mr. Salsi said, the two new candidates to get elected.
Thanks, John. Any other comments from the board? All right. I just have just a couple notes. First, for board members, if you haven't contacted Mrs. Callard about the awards recognition in Frankenmuth in December, your plans to attend, please do so we meet the deadline for that piece of business. And then following up on comments already made, first of all, John, on running the election, didn't turn out quite the numbers in your favor, but I'd just like to thank you for your time on the board. I know that probably as much of a challenge as being appointed to a board seat. You don't have the time to kind of plan and work your way into it with some expectation. And you stepped up for the community and filled the seat on a very short turnaround. And we're very grateful for your service to the board, even though it's been a fairly short period of time. For Ms. Odell and Ms. Ramberg, we'd like to congratulate them on the results of the election. Now the hard work starts for them. They'll come to the realization of what it requires to be a board member. It's quite a sacrifice personally for all of us on the board to serve our schools and community in this capacity, because it isn't just these meetings. There's a lot of time put in behind the scenes, and I think they're up to the challenge. I hope they have great success, no matter how long their term on the board may be, whether it's one term of 6 years or maybe 16 or 20 plus in the case of Mr. Murphy. Wish them all the best, because we're all here for the betterment of our community and our schools, and I wish them the best of luck when they take their seats in the new year. That's all I have. We will move on to our next item, which is our special recognitions, which I'm sorry Mrs. Luck isn't here tonight, because she always says that student recognitions for each month is the best meeting of the month. I concur with her on that. So we will move into our student recognitions. And again, just going in the order here on the agenda, we have Central Elementary.
Wait just a few minutes, he's not here.
Oh, okay, very good. Then we'll move on to Linden Elementary. Ms. McRavage ready?
On the top.
Got it. All right. Good evening. I'm here today to introduce one of our Linden leaders. This is James Lane. His teacher, Mrs. Fogut, nominated him as Student of the Month.
And this is for you, James. James, you're gonna stay up here with me. Okay. You're good about James. Thanks for having us. Our very amazing, sweet, third grade student, James. James, when I asked other adults and teachers in the building to describe you, the word that kept being repeated was kindness. Others mentioned his politeness, and some talked about how sweet he is. Mrs. Martin said that James is a model of what it means to soar, which is really important. And she also said that he leads quietly by example and is always ready to share his beautiful singing voice with the class, which I can attest to James' amazing singing voice. Some teachers and staff shared that James has an empathetic heart and shows tremendous leadership skills. And I agree with all of these descriptions of James. But I'd like to add that James has a huge heart. He's always welcoming to others and has a willingness to help those around him, no matter what. He tries his best at every task and is often encouraging others to keep trying. He's a good and trusting friend, and all of these make him an amazing classmate, role model, and leader. But academically, James is a sponge. He listens so intently to information and details on any given subject. He asks the most insightful questions, and in my room, you can always see James raising his hand. He has lots of questions, but most importantly, has lots of great answers. He gives very thoughtful and smart answers in the classroom. He truly wants to learn, and he gives 100%, 110% as a student. James, Yeah.
I hope you stay curious. I hope you continue to love learning. And I hope you continue to be the amazing, kind person you are today.
Congratulations, James. I know that Mrs. Bogus has very high standards, so that you were recognized by her means an awful lot. All right, our next school for recognition is Highland Elementary.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be up here tonight to recognize another one of our outstanding young ladies from Hyde Elementary, and thrilled that Ms. McCormick can be here with me tonight to do so. So, Ms. Olivia, congratulations for all your hard work, and just love what you brought to our school and what you're going to hear about for you tonight. So, great job. Thanks to your family for coming up tonight because they've done such a wonderful job with you.
Olivia is an outstanding person and student. She is super kind with her classmates. I see her following the SOAR rules. She sets a great example in the classroom. She is curious and is willing to try different things. One of the best things, I think one of the highest compliments that I've heard is another student said, what they said about Olivia was, you know, I want to sit by Olivia because I've heard she's a great student. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty good observation from another 7-year-old. And this is a student that sometimes struggles, so that was a great example to be for another student, Olivia. You are a blessing to all of us in this classroom, and I want to present you with Student of the Month. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Olivia. Keep up the great work.
Yay!
Our next building would be Linden Middle School.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come up and talk on behalf of Linden Middle School. Thanks to the board for always doing the student recognition months. Congratulations to all of the other student of the months, especially the little ones that we are excited to have at Linden Middle School in a couple of years. Linden Middle School is able to announce Nolan Rush as our student of the month, and the staff of Linden Middle School, Ms. Baldridge, is here to speak on it.
Hi everyone, how are you doing today? All right, good evening. It's with great pride that I present the LMS Student of the Month for November to this truly remarkable young man, Mr. Nolan Rush. I met Nolan last year with an initiative beyond his years. He sought me out to inquire about NJHS. He was the very first 7th grader that ever came up to me and asked if we were going to be doing NJHS, National Junior Honor Society, at the middle school. He was the first student to turn in the application and had an amazing essay that blew me away. It was very insightful and he really impressed me right off the bat. This year, I have the privilege to have Nolan in my class and I would have the privilege of inducting him to NJHS. Nolan's more than just a bright student. He's compassionate. He's a compassionate soul. As a peer buddy, a SOAR leader, he consistently goes out of his way to help others, embodying the spirit of kindness and empathy. According to his other teachers, including Mrs. Rose, Mr. Alessi, Mrs. Schultz, Mrs. Kubiak, Nolan is always attentive and respectful, not only to them, but to the classmates. He voluntarily adds to classroom discussions, and aside from excelling academically, he's also personal and funny. Love it. It's a joy to have him in the classroom, it really is. As we explore the novel, The Outsiders, we often encourage our students to be like Pony Boy. Nolan, you've taken that advice to heart. You really have. From my heart. Your unwavering loyalty, intelligence, and gentle nature make you a role model for all of us. Nolan, thank you. It's a privilege and an honor to be your teacher. It really is. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor, and I can't wait to see the great things that this kid offers in the next 4 years. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Nolan. Next is Linden High School, Mr. Dress.
Thank you. As our presenter, Dr. George, and our student of the month, I'll ever introduce our student. Congratulations to James, Nolan, and Olivia. Nolan, I know where you get your sense of humor from, so keep that in mind. Without further ado, Dr. George is going to introduce Linden High School Student of the Month.
Thank you. I'm pleased to announce Cade Bardenike as our Student of the Month. Cade is an exceptional student. I first met Cade as a sophomore in Advanced American Literature last year. He's pretty open about his past placements in lower level and co-taught classes. However, that motivated him beyond any other student I have ever had to transcend those placements and move quickly into advanced and AP classes. As anyone can imagine, it's a very significant jump in pace and expectations, just from 9th to 10th grade. But he did like a triple jump. Freshman to sophomore year is not easy, and Cade had it harder than most. He sought extra help, worked endlessly at school and at home to succeed. It's hard to really capture his system of revision on a paper, but he would stay almost every day and have post-it notes and highlighting all over his paper and ask me every single question from claims and evidence to just simply one word. And he just blew me away. Now he helps younger students make their papers better. He really cares about the quality of his work, and he's always growing as a student. I cannot emphasize that in 25 plus years of teaching, I don't think I have ever had a student who works harder than you do. And that is about the best quality that you can have. He's self-driven, and like I said, he shatters other people's expectations. He truly shows that anyone can achieve your goals and get ahead if you try hard enough. And I'm pleased to say he even joined Quiz Bowl this year. As a person, Cade is kind and compassionate. As I said, he helps other students, and he takes a great care to forge relationships with his teachers. Currently, I have Cade in my first hour narrative class, and each day he makes my morning a little brighter just when he's there. He's an inspiration, and he's such an example of positivity for our next generation. And I am not the only one who feels this way about Cade. Mr. Burhans says that Cade is great to have in class. He's always engaged in class discussions and makes thoughtful comments. Mr. Burhans says as a social studies teacher, Cade's passion for history is inspiring. Cade is an exceptional choice for Student of the Month. Mr. Landrum said that Cade's sense of humor is a welcome addition to their class in 6th hour chemistry. He's always smiling and has an upbeat personality that is a positive contribution to the classroom culture. Mr. Bodzik says Cade is just an awesome kid. He's curious, courteous, positive, engaged, and always on top of his work. He asks great questions, which you do, and is always willing to participate. Many times he comes to my class before school just to talk, which I love. I'm not sure what else to say other than he's just an all-around great kid. And lastly, Mr. Schneider says that in Honors British Lit, Cade is a diligent student who takes his studies very seriously. He regularly communicates with Mr. Schneider via email and to make sure that he's well prepared for class each day. He produces excellent work and is a joy to have in HBL because of his positive attitude and his contributions to class discussion. He's currently reading the role of Claudius during class in Hamlet, and I guess you're an excellent evil king, Cade, as you are reading, which is great. Mr. Schneider says that's ironic, though, because he's such a kind and generous person who greets him every day in a friendly way. And Mr. Schneider is also thrilled to have Cade join Quiz Bowl. So all of your teachers just think the world of you and your work ethic, and we are so very proud of you. Congratulations.
Okay, those are some pretty lofty comments from those teachers. I hold those staff members in pretty high regard, having 2 students of my own that are now Linden alumni that went through those classes. So that you have those sort of comments speaks pretty highly about your character. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, once again, it's just awesome to hear these students. Unfortunately, our Central Elementary student isn't going to be here tonight due to illness, Jackson Pollock. We will recognize Jackson, will coordinate that so he can come in front of the board and the families and other students to get his recognition as I think is appropriate. So we'll schedule that at a future board meeting. But once again, kids that we'll recognize tonight and siblings that are in here, it means so much for the quality of the character. As much as it is the academics and everything else, the academics carry you to a point. It's what you demonstrate in the classroom with your teachers, with the staff, with your fellow students. That's what carries you into adulthood. That's going to be your success. Your ability to work and lead and be a good example and cooperate and challenge yourself, that's what really matters. So families, we know it really starts with you, the examples you set. We would greatly appreciate what you do for our students, and we try to just follow that up here during the course of the school year. So thanks for everyone. Congratulations to all our students. All right, moving on. Our next item is our audit presentation. We have Mr. Doug Deeter here for our audit report. While Mr. Dieter's setting up, our parents that are here, we realize that a lot of things going on. So if you want to quietly depart, and probably some principals and teachers want to get some pictures in the hallway, so there's probably a good spot for some candid photos. So. And our students who are here for class, please move up. We want to see your faces. And we have Mr. Doug Deeter from the Raymond Group. That is the accounting firm that does our annual audit of our financial statements. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. And it's always exciting to see many people here to see the audit report, and they all leave before I get a chance to do it. So that's okay. So I am Doug Deeter with Raymond, and we did the audit for the district again this year through June 30, 2024 fiscal year end. I believe you all have a copy of the actual audit report. What I'm going to do today is we put together this PowerPoint. We're just going to go through this. It's also on the screen. You guys have it printed in front of you. If there are any specific questions you want to talk about in the audit report, I'm happy to do that as well. But this kind of just gives you a high-level overview of the results of the audit. So I'll start with, we did issue what's called an unmodified opinion. So that's the highest level of assurance independent auditors can provide. It means financial statements are fairly presented. It's the same opinion you've received over the years. We're going to look at the general fund. Start with the main operating fund of the district. The general fund ending fund balance ended at June 30, 2024 at $8,644,000. So the fund balance is basically what's left over after you pay all your liabilities that were there at June 30. So it's kind of what can be used going forward for the operations of the district. The fund balance did increase about $2.2 million, and we'll look at a future slide why what created that increase. And then one measure of the healthiness of the general fund is how much fund balance do you have compared to 1 year's expenditures. So you know, if no money ever came in the door again, which we know wasn't gonna happen, how long could you survive? So basically, the $8 million fund balance gives you about 26% of 1 year's expenditures. So many years ago, the MSBO, the Michigan School Business Officers Association, put out some recommendations of about 15 to 20%. So you're a little bit on the higher end. A lot of districts are at this point because of the COVID funding that has come in and that type of thing. So nothing wrong with that. It means you have a good, healthy fund balance in the general fund, which can help go do improvements at the school or provide, you know, the operations funding for that. Next slide looks at the general fund revenues, gives you a 3-year trend of those revenues. You can see there on the right side, the 2024 general fund revenues were just under $35 million, up about 1.1 million from the prior year. You can see there from 22-23, you saw a large increase, about $5 million. That's when you started expending basically the ESSER funding that the district received from the COVID legislation. So then again in 24, you continue spending that. We'll look at some differences on another slide there, but again, that's gonna start going away, so you're gonna see that general fund revenue probably coming back down some, I would guess, in the future. So the general fund revenues, budget actuals, this is the final budget after the board adopted the original budget, amended it throughout the year to where you kind of expected the district to end up, and then compare that to actual, what actually happened. So the final budget, you expected $34,387,000 revenues to come in. About $500,000 above that, actual revenues were $34,960,000. So not too far off budget, about 2%, but when you're budgeting, you know, it's an estimate, so you try and get as close as you can. So some differences there, the local revenue, or local source we look at prior year to current year, it's up about $600,000. Biggest part of that is this increase in taxable value, you're getting some more property taxes coming in the door. State sources up about 1.3 million. You had some additional categorical funding come in, you had some additional other state revenues come in this year, so that saw an increase of 1.3. Then your federal sources went down about 1.1, and that's almost all in the ESSER funds. So you spent about 1.1 million in ESSER more in 23 than you did in 24. So where does that revenue go? Well, it goes to pay for the operating expenditures of the general fund for the year. And this pie chart gives you an idea of what kind of category those expenditures went to. You can see the blue and the orange makes up about 76%. That's your salaries and benefits for everybody in the district. So that 76% is very consistent from district to district in Michigan. You know, a lot of them are right in that range. As you expect, it costs a lot of money to teach the kids and keep the school operating. So that 76% is a large part of your total budget for the year. If we look at the expenditures 3-year trend, kind of the same as the revenues from 22 to 23, you had a large increase in expenses that went along with the excess revenue, ESSER revenue that you guys received. So nothing too significant there, very similar expenditures from 23 to 24. Look at budget to actual, broken down by instruction and then the other supporting services. You had budgeted $33.7 million. Actuals come in at 32.7. It's about $1 million difference, about 3% off. Again, budget just trying to get it close, and 2-3% is a pretty good estimate of where of what you think is going to happen during the year. So as I mentioned, the general fund balance is kind of what's left over for future years. You can see a 3-year trend on the left side of what the fund balance has done. The increases, a lot of that has to do with, again, the ESSER spending that you have has covered some other costs that you might cover with general fund, other revenue, state, local, that type of thing. So you're building a fund balance. Then the right side just gives you an idea of the percentage of 1-year expenditures. It was at 17.5% in 22. Now you're up to almost 26.5% in 2024. The district participates in the NPSR's statewide retirement plan, as all local school districts do in Michigan. What you see here is just your district's portion of basically the unfunded liability. So it's a net, what's called the net pension liability. So MPSRs will calculate the total liability for the plan, allocate it to each individual district, and then also allocate the investments that MPSRs holds and invests on behalf of the districts to go towards that. And the difference between the total liability and the investments they have is what's called the net pension liability. So this is kind of the unfunded portion. It's about $46.6 million for your district. It is down from 53 a year ago. MIPSers measures as of September 30th each year, so what's in your audit report this year is as of September 30, 2023. And if you remember the stock market compared to September 23 to September 22, you had some nice returns over that year period, so that's why you're seeing your liability come down because the investments have increased in value. And again, today, you get to September 30, 2024, in your next audit report, you're gonna probably see it come back down again because again, the market was doing better in 2024 than it was in 2023. From a total plan perspective, the plan is about 65% funded, which is pretty good shape as long as you continue to make your annual required contributions as you do and have every year. That funds will be there for when the retiree's ready to draw on that. Similar information, this is the retiree healthcare, also through the MIPSers plan. A little better information on this one. You can see where 2024, the blue line is actually negative. Negative normally means something bad, but that's actually good here because that means this plan is overfunded by $827,000. And so again, a lot of that had to do with the stock market returns last year to this year. And so, I would suspect if that keeps up, you'll see a reduction in your required contributions going forward. It takes a year or two to catch up, MIPSers, to get to that point to adjust your required contribution. In addition to the financial statement audit, we also did what's called a single audit. This looks at your federal awards. So the federal government provides you grants and says you can spend these grants on X, Y, and Z. They want this single audit performed to ensure that you spent those funds in compliance with those grant guidelines. So the district expended just under $3 million in federal awards. As I mentioned, ESSER, you had almost $4 million in the prior year, so you're down about $1 million, and most of that's in the ESSER funding. The major programs, the two programs that we audited this year for your compliance is the ESSER, the Education Stabilization Fund, and the Special Education Cluster, which is the IDEA program, the two major programs. And we did issue unmodified opinions on those programs as well, so the district fully complied with those programs as in accordance with the grant agreements. So that's all I had. If there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to address those at this point.
Any questions from members of the board? Not seeing any, Doug, it's always a pleasure to have your company come in and work with us. I know we've had a long-standing relationship, and I think that helps because of familiarity. I hate to say, but you kind of know where the skeletons are hidden.
Sure.
When you have that sort of a relationship and you understand the process and the environment we're in. And then we also, year over year, you're getting, apples to apples comparison by someone coming in and looking at it a different way. So we really do appreciate the professionalism of your staff and what you bring to us every year.
Great, thank you.
Before, Mr. Murphy?
Thanks, Mr. Maker. Sorry, a little late on the ask there. The MIPSers was, contribution, you said dropped $7 million approximately from last year?
Not the contribution, the
Or the
liability.
Liability.
The
okay.
liability, yes.
So we pay the same contribution every year, or how's that adjusted? Will that be adjusted in the future?
Well, it is calculated each year, so it's not the same contribution every year. MIPSers will calculate that each year based on how the plan is doing and how much funding they think they need to have. So if you have your audit report in front of you, I can point you, your historical contribution data is in here. And it is on page, no page number, it's in the required supplementary information. So your required contribution for 2024 is $5,824,000. And it has ranged from 3.5 to 5.8 over the last 10 years. So it's been going up each year, but you've had increased costs, you've had market fluctuations, that type of thing. So that contribution is based on how well the plan is doing in total.
Okay, so that number is determined before we develop our budget for next year?
Yes, it's developed well in advance of the budget, yeah.
Okay, so, all right, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Montague.
Sure, thanks, thanks Mr. Deeter for the presentation, and if we're about done with this part of the conversation, I just want to make a comment that I really appreciate all the detail that you went through in the audit, but also wanted to recognize Ms. Rush. I believe this was your first audit, so we really appreciate all the efforts that you put into this. To have the highest finding is certainly a testament to your organization, and probably a little bit of help from Ms. Dickey and what she was able to pass along. So I've been through financial audits in my work life, and I was telling Mr. Siselsky that as a non-financial person primarily, it terrifies me to think about having to like back up every number, but I know that you all do that very well, and it's very commendable, and I'm happy that there are smart people in finance and accounting that are able to do that. Now, what kind of goes into this, so just wanted to say thank you and congratulations on a clean audit.
And I appreciate you saying that. You beat me to it, because I was gonna say the same thing. Kylie's done a great job for you guys with the year and a half, I don't know, something like that here. She came in the middle of last year's audit, I think, if I remember correctly. So the transition, I think, went great. She did a great job for you guys for the audit, and it was, just as smooth, or, when Pam was here. So she's doing great for you. So I'm glad the board recognized that. I wanted to point that out as well.
Thanks, Jared, I appreciate you catching me on that one, because I was gonna say something, but you caught me and beat me to it. Yeah, being married to a CPA, I don't do my own taxes, that's why I have her. I know what I can do and what I can't do, and it does amaze me, your ability to grasp all that and keep it in order and come up with a result like this for the district is commendable. So keep up the great work, we really appreciate having you in that position, so thanks.
Thank you.
All right, that's the last of our presentations. There's no administrative updates. We come to the portion of the meeting for public comments. Any public comments? Nothing this evening. Then we will move on. Our next item is the consent agenda, which consists of minutes of our October 23rd meeting? My eyes are a little off tonight. Do I have motion and support to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is accepted. Moving on to our action items. For our first item is acceptance of the audit findings for the 2023-2024 financial period as just presented by Mr. Deeter. The recommendation of the administration is to accept these findings as it aligns with our strategic plan goal for A1 sustainability. Do I have motion and support?
So moved. Support.
Are there any further comments from the board before we vote? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded to accept the audit findings as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The audit findings are accepted. Our second item is Brooke Hansen's attendance at CBA 330, Legal Issues in Interscholastic Athletics. Brooke would like to continue her CBA classes with this offering. And CBA 345 data dashboards. Each of these are $99 and they are not under the reimbursable category. Do I have a motion and support?
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Brooke Hansen's attendance of CBA 330 and CBA 345. Any comments or? Just thank you once again for stepping up and taking more classes. I think especially given some recent topics of discussion that some of these are very valuable going forward as you continue your service here on the board. If there's no further comment, then we have the motion and support to approve Brooke's attendance at these classes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We have a discussion item. There's a list that the board has been provided previously of first reading of new and revised policies. There's a list of policy updates, listed item A through item Q. Is there any discussion or comment on any of these policies by members of the board? Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. Just, Mr. Sosowski, these, just to kind of let everybody know publicly that these recommendations for changes to the existing policies are a reflection of changes in laws that Neola has adapted to our policy.
Excuse me, that is correct. When you look at, they're kind of separated. We do have some policies that are mandated because of state law changes. For example, policy 5340, student accidents. Districts are now required to develop a cardiac response plan, so that's part of the updates. I believe, I couldn't give you the exact number. The majority of these policies fall under the EDGAR, fall under the Education Development General Administration Regulations, EDGAR, which we get the updates usually every year, which talk about the usage of federal funds. As Mr. Deeter kind of, ironic, I guess, that he pointed out. But yeah, this talks about when we get federal funding, how we spend it, bids, thresholds, and processes, procurement, longevity of those particular products, or usage of those federal funds.
But all these recommended changes, whether it be to the federal area or the state area, they're basically kind of required.
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
really have options not to do them.
With these particular policies, I would agree. There are really no options because they all are legally mandated.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Bond?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Maker. I don't really have any question, but just to share a little bit of some of the things I talked about with Mr. Sosowski. So we, I noticed there's a lot of changes in the criminal justice information security one, and we kind of walked through the fact that the district has a very robust process for sort of the iChats and, all the volunteers that go along with that. He gave me a couple examples of how that's, we really have a lot of vigilance around that. So I was really pleased to hear that. And then talking about all the ones that talk about financial controls and grant funds and all that, certainly coming off of the successful audit, I was very comfortable knowing that we are able to implement and manage those well. And then the last thing that stood out to me, which I thought was really cool, is the student conduct one that had a lot of updates around not only defining the academic honesty, so there's, A through N, all of the different things that would be defined as dishonesty, but also some good definitions around the acceptable use of AI. I know Ms. Hanson has a lot of experience in that, but kind of 5 bullets that they talked about, which were you could use AI for research assistance, data analysis, language translation, writing assistance, and accessibility, but there's some good language in there around not just using what that comes up with to kind of be the basis of what you're writing or whatever. So I thought that was a really good definition that I hadn't really seen before, as some of us try to figure out how we're gonna be interfacing with AI in the future. So I thought that was a good change. So yeah.
I do have to go back, Mr. Murphy. There are 2 that as I'm looking through it, that I guess as a board, you do have the option. Revised policy 5330.02, opioid antagonist. Basically, when we adopted this policy about a year ago, they did not use the word narcon. They actually used the medical terminology for what narcon is. So now they've added that. So the board has, the option not to use that word. And then as revised 5500 student conduct, as Jared mentioned, I guess if the board determined that there were other ways to cheat, they could add or delete some of those options.
Very good, thank you.
I apologize for that.
Any other comments or questions from the board on these discussion items? All right, then this will be on the consent agenda of next meeting's agenda for adoption. That is all we have for our meeting this evening. We do have closed session. I need a motion and support to move to closed session per section 8B, student discipline of the Open Meetings Act. Do I have motion and support?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of moving to closed session, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. And we will stand closed session at 6:45. Our students, anyone up here can sign your sheets. We will come back, we will have action on the student discipline, but there's nothing more of substance for class that you'd be missing out on. So anyone up here can sign your papers for class.